GTA isn't just a game, it's a legend in the gaming world. It put open world on the map and became the blueprint for everything that came after. But not everyone is cool with that, right? A bunch of companies have tried to make their own GTA to challenge Rockstar. But did any of these clones actually come close? Or at least bring something fresh to the table? Today we're going to take a look at 5 games that had the guts, or maybe the audacity, to try and be the new GTA. Let's see if these games were a hit, a flop, or just a decent attempt. True Crime New York City. True Crime New York City was the direct sequel to True Crime Streets of LA, and the goal was clear: deliver an open world focused on the perspective of a tough cop. The game put you in the shoes of Marcus Reed, a former criminal who became a detective set in chaotic New York City. It promised a more realistic experience, with missions ranging from criminal investigations to high-speed chases through the streets. The highlight was the freedom of choice. You could be an honest cop or give in to corruption, taking bribes and abusing your authority. Plus, the game stood out for its attempt to recreate NY in detail, with neighborhoods like Harlem and Times Square. But things started to go downhill in the technical details. Despite good intentions, the game was packed with bugs, graphics that didn't live up to expectations, and clunky gameplay that turned off a lot of players. It had a solid foundation, but in the end, it fell way short of being a true GTA competitor. The series ended there, but a lot of people still have a soft spot for that bold attempt. Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is that rare example of an underrated game that earned respect over time. Originally planned as True Crime Hong Kong, the project was rescued by Square Enix and turned into a new franchise. The big idea here was to blend an open world with the intense vibe of action movies and martial arts. You played as Wei Shen, an undercover cop infiltrating Hong Kong's gangs. The story was one of the game's strongest points, featuring emotional conflicts and moral dilemmas as Wei tried to balance his loyalty to the police and the gangs. Plus, the hand-to-hand combat was one of its biggest innovations, with moves inspired by Kung Fu and the ability to use the environment to your advantage. The game also featured a lively, vibrant city full of side activities like street racing, karaoke, and underground fights. Despite all these qualities, Sleeping Dogs didn't see the commercial success it deserved, and a sequel ended up being canceled, but it became a cult classic, loved by everyone who got the chance to dive into this unique world. Watch Dogs franchise. Ubisoft came in strong in 2014, launching Watch Dogs as their big bet to compete with GTA. The game put you in the shoes of Aiden Pierce, a skilled hacker in a futuristic Chicago where everything was connected through the CTOS system. The premise was exciting: use hacking skills to manipulate the city, hack devices, and control traffic lights, cameras, and more, all to get revenge on those who hurt your family. The hype before launch was huge, fueled by impressive trailers that promised cutting-edge graphics and revolutionary gameplay. Ubisoft even had the audacity to take a dig at Rockstar during the launch of GTA 5 in 2013, though I don't remember the exact phrase. It was something like 2 months is enough to visit Los Angeles or Los Santos, the LA of the GTA universe. And it's kind of funny to think that those 2 months ended up being almost 12 years. But when the game finally hit the shelves, the reception was disappointing. Although the hacking mechanics were innovative, many players felt the game didn't live up to the expectations set, especially because the trailers were misleading. They promised one thing but launched something totally different. There's so much controversy surrounding the first Watch Dogs that it could probably get its own entire video. Anyway, critics pointed out a lackluster story and a bland protagonist, as well as gameplay that, despite the new features, wasn't all that different from other open-world games. Despite the criticism, Watch Dogs sold well, which led Ubisoft to invest in a sequel. Watch Dogs 2, released in 2016, brought significant improvements, featuring a more charismatic protagonist and a vibrant San Francisco setting. The game was better received by both critics and players, helping solidify the franchise. But with the launch of Watch Dogs Legion in 2020, the series faced new challenges. The game introduced the innovative mechanic of recruiting and playing as any NPC in the city, but it was plagued with technical issues and criticism over the depth of its narrative. Recent rumors suggest that, after Legion's underwhelming performance, Ubisoft considers the franchise dead and buried, with no plans for new titles in the near future. Driver 3. The Driver series was a pioneer in the open-world driving game genre, with its first title released in 1999. Driver 3, launched in 2004, sought to expand on that formula by allowing players to get out of their vehicles and explore the environment on foot, a clear attempt to compete with the success of GTA. In the game, you controlled John Tanner, an undercover detective navigating cities like Miami, Nice, and Istanbul in a story full of car chases and shootouts. Unfortunately, the game was released before it was fully polished. leading to a series of technical issues, bugs, graphical glitches, and inconsistent AI hampered the player experience. Reviews were harsh with many, pointing out that the game failed to balance the transition between driving and on-foot sections, resulting in fragmented gameplay. Despite an aggressive marketing campaign, including short films starring Hollywood actors, Driver 3 didn't live up to expectations and ended up tarnishing the franchise's reputation. After the failure of Driver 3, the franchise tried to reinvent itself with subsequent titles, but it never fully regained the prestige it once had. In 2011, Driver San Francisco was released, introducing the innovative shift mechanic that allowed players to jump between vehicles, earning more positive reviews. But sales weren't enough to revive the series, and it has remained dormant ever since. Yeah, I've heard of Driver 3. It had some cool ideas, but just didn't execute them well, and the technical issues really held it back. Saints Row. When Saints Row dropped in 2006, it seemed like a straight-up GTA clone, but with a much more over-the-top fun vibe. The idea was simple: an open-world game with gangs, vehicles, and chaotic missions, but over time, the franchise found its own identity, and that's when it really started to shine. The first game was basically a more serious GTA, but it already had some interesting mechanics like detailed character and vehicle customization. With the release of Saints Row 2, the series started embracing a more comedic and exaggerated tone, offering absurd missions like storming a crime boss's mansion or facing off against a bizarre cult. The game still had a solid story, but it knew how to laugh at itself, which won it a lot of fans. The evolution continued with Saints Row III, which completely threw seriousness out the window and dove headfirst into insanity. Superpowers, ridiculous weapons, and missions that were way out of this world became trademarks. This exaggerated tone helped the franchise stand out as something unique, instead of just another GTA clone. But not everything was smooth sailing. When the Saints Row reboot came out in 2022, the result was divisive. The attempt to modernize the series led to changes in both the story and tone, but it ended up disappointing a lot of the older fanbase. Even so, Saints Row remains a great example of how a clone can turn into something original and memorable, even if it never reached the same level of popularity as GTA. Do you think any of these games came close to dethroning GTA, or were they just trying and failing? Drop a comment below, let's chat. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe for more crazy lists like this one. Hit the bell so you don't miss any new vids. Smash that like button and share it with your friends who love open world games and GTA, and see you later, alligator.